Hello and welcome to Live with Liz, Tuesdays at 8. I'm so excited to be on here tonight to talk to you about life coaching, to answer any questions you have. So feel free to just put them right into the chat and the comments, and I will get to them as you ask them. So the sky is the limit. We can talk about life, we can talk about coaching, whatever's on your mind. I am here and I'm excited. I really want people to see coaching up close and personal in a way that is risk-free, so you can see the benefits and the difference it can make for you and for your life. So I am here for you and to answer any questions you have, to talk to you about the benefits of coaching, to help you work through any areas of your life where you could use some help, you could use some encouragement. I certainly don't have all of the answers, but I can coach you to discovering those answers that you often will find on the inside of you. But uncovering those is like mining for gold. It's there, you know it's there, but it takes work to find it sometimes. And so that's the fun that we get to have together on this journey. So I am so excited, and I am here and ready when you are hopping on and ready to get started. So we will just hang out here and wait for people to hop on, and I am just gonna hang out with you as we wait. If you're watching the recording, you're watching the replay, you can always fast forward until you see people on and asking questions, since I do share this later on as a replay. So, all right, there's 2 people on, it looks like so far. April Mullet, hello, how are you, ma'am? Great to have you on here. It has been an interesting day today with some crazy weather that doesn't fit for June. So Mom, you can join like on the chat. You can ask questions. Can't really do the bringing you on video because the reception is bad. So hello, Miss Bree. Hey. Welcome, ladies. This is a safe place for men and women both to come and ask questions and talk about coaching and about life. So whatever's on your mind, just start letting the questions fly, and we'll answer them as they come and as I best can. I obviously don't have all of the answers, but I can help you discover those, and I can help you think through those. So what is on your mind tonight? Any questions? Don't be shy. We all have things we're curious about, challenges maybe we're working through, or maybe you have goals that you're trying to achieve and just need some help figuring out how to achieve those or why you haven't been able to so far. Okay, let's see. Bree's got a question. Do you use a specific coaching style when working with clients? Okay, that's a great question. So, yes and no. I use a lot of coaching techniques and skills through John Maxwell and through some other coaching programs that I've learned. And I also use a lot of emotional health-based questions, and I find that I have certain questions I ask a lot of the times, but there's not like a set program where I ask everybody the same questions every time. It's a very organic approach based on you as a client and your needs and what you are struggling with or facing in your life so that it can be tailor-made for you. So, Bree, if you have any more questions about that, feel free to ask me, but hopefully that answers those for you. Hey, Rosie. Hey, Allison. Yes, feel free if you're hopping on to ask any questions that you may have. I am here to help. We can talk about life. We can talk about coaching. We can talk about questions you may have about the coaching process or something specific to you. You'll be surprised that other people can learn so much by watching someone be coached. I am in multiple group coaching programs, and I've learned so much by watching other people be coached. You find out that questions are being asked that you didn't even know you had, right? And you get answers to those, or you think through something in a totally different way because of somebody else's question. So you are serving and helping other people by being willing to ask questions and getting coached live like this. It can really help other people as well. So don't be shy. We can all benefit from your questions. So whatever's on your mind, I'm excited to be here tonight and share with you. So let's see. Okay, Bree says, I felt guilty today because I've let my kids entertain themselves. I started thinking about how I'm not doing this or that with them and wonder if it's because we have no set schedule in the summer. Yes, I relate to that. Anybody else relate to that? Give Bree some likes and hearts on that one. It can feel so challenging in the summer to set a schedule when it is so chaotic, and you can find that you rely on the school schedule, because that gives you some structure, and it's can just feel like chaos in the summer. So one thing you can ask yourself is, how do you want the summer to feel? Do you want it to feel relaxed? Do you want it to feel fun? Do you want it to feel organized? Do you want it to feel laid back? What is it that you want and your kids want to feel this summer? And then what activities and actions can you take to make that happen? As opposed to feeling pressured, you have to spend every second of the day with them, or that you have to entertain them. It's more like, what big picture wise, what do you want to feel when you think about the summertime with your kids? And answering that question will help a lot. So do you have a specific answer to that question, Bree? Do you know how you want to feel when it comes to the summertime with your kids? Guilty is certainly not how you want to feel, I'm sure. It feels terrible to feel guilty. How do you want to feel? Hi, Stephanie, welcome. I'm so glad you joined us. We are just talking about questions, and let's see. Can I message you a question? And the background of it is kind of long. Okay, relaxed, but yet challenged. So, Allison, if you want, can you message the question to Bree? And then Bree, can you just shorthand it onto here, possibly? Let me know what you're thinking about that, Bree, but I think that might be a way to make that work. Relaxed, but yet challenged. Interesting. Well, that could be why you're feeling so guilty, because those are pretty tall orders. You want the summer to feel relaxed, but yet challenged. And do your kids want to feel challenged? Or is that more something that you want that they're not prioritizing? So getting clear about your expectations and about theirs and trying to get on the same page can be really helpful. Allison says she's right there with you. April says, what is the first step in building self-confidence when you've never had any? Great question, April. Oh, self-confidence is something that, man, you know, it's like when we were kids, unless something extraordinarily intense or traumatic happened, we come into this world pretty confident, right? Like we come into this world thinking we are pretty much the coolest thing since sliced bread, right? You don't have to convince kids that they're amazing. They just know that they are until somebody tells them they're not. And so my question would be, who told you that you're not, right? Who told you that you're not amazing and that you're not full of wonder and greatness, right? And what happened that shifted that for you? And you want to ask yourself, how do you want to feel when you think about yourself? If you want to feel confident, then chances are you've got to start shifting your thinking about yourself, because right now, if you don't feel confident, then your thoughts are probably, I'm not very good at this. Nobody wants to spend time with me. I probably shouldn't even try, right? Like it's just full of stinking thinking when you're not confident. So the question is, how do you think that confident people think? Do you think that confident people think, oh, I probably shouldn't do this. I'm a terrible person. I don't have any idea what I'm doing. Or do you think they're thinking, I've got this. I've done this before. This isn't my first time. Or they are thinking, I can figure this out. So the question is, like, where are you wanting to feel confident? Let's say you want to feel confident at work. Instead of thinking, I don't know what I'm doing, you know, let's say you're at a new job and you don't know what you're doing and you're feeling stressed out. Those thoughts aren't serving you. Thoughts that will serve you are, I can figure this out. So you want to start to come up with ways to help your brain believe that you can figure things out. So ask your brain to go to work to remind you of the times in your life when you figured things out, because you need evidence to suggest that you do know what you're doing. Does that make sense? I feel like I bother people. I'm not good enough for most people. I sometimes doubt myself in leadership. I feel like I bother people. If people aren't telling you that you bother them, that is probably an inside thought. That I can just feel the pain of that thought, April. Ugh, I can feel that. That is so hard when you feel like you're an inconvenience and you feel like you're a bother. The chances are good that somebody has told you that somewhere along the lines, because we don't naturally believe that about ourselves, right? We know that we are made in God's image and we have so much to offer the world. But if we have been told that one too many times that we're an inconvenience, we can just take that to heart. So it's almost like faking it until you make it. You want to start telling yourself the opposite of that. Like, not like arrogant, like people are lucky that they get to talk to me, but more along those lines, right? So you're thinking, people enjoy being around me. Like, I make a difference in people's lives. Things like that, April. Because imagine, that's exactly what the enemy wants you to think, is that you're a bother and you're an inconvenience, so that you don't talk and you don't help people, right? Because if you are so focused on how people are perceiving you, then it's going to prevent you from being able to help them and think about them. I've been so guilty of being so concerned about other people's perceptions that you can't love people, right? Because you can't see them where they're at. You're just able to see your own inadequacies and focus on those. When people need you to love them. But that takes an amount of confidence to love people, right? It's loving yourself so that you can then pour that love onto others. Excuse me. This air is really causing me some coughing fits. Anybody else? So sorry. I've got a glass of water, but I don't know. I was told that it's the fires up in in Canada that it's affecting the quality of the air. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but I sure feel like that. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful, April, to get you going on that one. Allison says, I'm struggling with deciding whether or not to stay at my current job. There's been a lot of staff turnover. Let's see, the last 7 years, the workload is heavy. You don't feel supported by management. You love the work. You love your patients. You love the doctors. It's been a negative work environment because of one person. Okay. Prayed a lot about, felt God saying you need to stay and be part of changing the environment. Be part of the solution. What advice do you have to help me change the environment, especially if that one person is very resistant to change? Yes. Okay. So, first of all, kudos to you for being so self-aware that you're able to see that you are letting that one person get under your skin, right? You're letting them bother you. And the good news is they don't have to do anything in order for you to have a better experience, because that's all an inside job. And at first that can feel frustrating. Like they're the one that needs to change. They're the one that needs to not be so resistant to change. Problem is you can't control them. But the good news is you can control yourself. And so just like we talked about being compassionate with the part of yourself that's resistant to change, now is a chance to offer compassion towards your coworker and the part of them that's resistant to change. Because you can relate, because there's parts of you that are resistant to change. There's parts of you that don't want to do the right thing or what you know you should do. And so that part of you can feel compassion towards this coworker that feels impossible to deal with. Like, okay, I'm going to have grace with them as I'm learning to have grace with myself. But if you're having trouble having grace with yourself, then it will be hard to have grace with them. So it starts with you. It starts with, can you love the parts of yourself that you don't like, that are resistant to change? And then as you do that, you're able to offer that grace to other people. And watching your thoughts about that coworker, because your relationships are only as strong as the thoughts you have about them. So if you're thinking about this coworker, oh, they're so miserable, I hate being around them, they bring me down, they're so negative, none of those thoughts are going to serve you when it comes to not being impacted by the coworker. So it's more like, wow, they must be having a rough time. You know, I really appreciate that they do this well. Whatever you can do to elevate those thoughts about the coworker, because it's affecting you. Whether they change or not, you can up that positivity factor towards your coworker in your own mind, and that will change your entire experience. Your entire focus will shift, and you'll be able to see the entire situation through a different perspective. I hope that's helpful. Feel free to ask more questions. I apologize. Okay. Yes, you do, April Mullet. You make a big difference and people love being around you. It's true. But that's the last thing that the enemy wants you to think, and your critical inner critic wants you to think. Your inner critic wants you to think that you are hard to be around, right? But there's a benefit to that. And the benefit is that you don't have to put yourself out there if you think that you don't have much to offer. I apologize. There's less risk involved when you can just stay in a shell and not be confident and not put yourself out there. You don't risk rejection then, right? So you want to be compassionate with the side of yourself that's not confident, because you do have confidence when it comes to certain things that you do well, right? But the part of you that's not confident is afraid of rejection. And so getting compassionate with that and saying, man, it makes sense that I don't want to be rejected. It hurts to be rejected. I've been rejected, and I'm going to avoid that at all costs. And so what appears to be a lack of confidence could be that there's a part of yourself that's really just trying to avoid pain. So hopefully that is helpful as well. All right. Welcome, Tara. Oh, hi, Sammy Nutter. Great to see you on here. I'm glad that was helpful for you, Allison. Is the fire in the air? Yes, Bree, it is. Oh my goodness. Shoot. Hopefully you can ignore my coughing and find this time beneficial. I really do apologize for that. Hi, Tammy, welcome. So happy to have you on here. Any other questions? Who's next? Questions about life coaching, about goals you're trying to set, anything at all. We can all benefit from talking together about these different things and just kind of coaching through them, thinking about them from a different perspective, that type of thing. So I want to see, Bree, you commented again. Let's see, you said, I want them to continue growing in their academics, but here I'm not making them read or practice any type of educational things. Well, that's a tall order in the summer to want them to continue growing in their academics. So is there a way you can do that that doesn't feel like a lot of pressure, so that it feels relaxed? Because that doesn't sound super relaxed. It sounds a little bit more high pressure and high expectation. So if you want to feel challenged, finding out if your kids want to feel challenged, what would be fun to them that maybe you might feel could bring some challenge, but, shaking it up a bit, like with games or, a more lighthearted approach to having summer challenges, as opposed to forcing your kids to sit there and pen and paper and doing schoolwork, that type of thing. So getting on the same page with them will be really helpful. Let's see. Sammy says, how do you keep boundaries knowing it will end a relationship and it's a hard boundary? Oh, that's a great question, Sammy. I do love talking about boundaries. Okay. Knowing it will end a relationship. So the first place you want to start with setting boundaries is with yourself, because you want to know that you know exactly where you stand and exactly what you think about things, regardless of people's reaction. Because so many times people struggle setting boundaries because they feel uncertain about what they're trying to do. And so then they're like, well, I tried to set a boundary, but this person did this. Or I try to set boundaries, but they just ignore them. So you and only you can set boundaries for yourself. Nobody else can. And only you know when those boundaries get crossed. Only you know when someone has come too far. It's like if you picture you have a yard. So you have a yard that is yours to maintain and manage, and there's a fence there, and you decide who comes and who goes and how close and how far they're allowed to come in and out of that yard. So you know where that fence is, but it's your job to then communicate to others where those lines are. And expect others are not going to respect those lines. Not necessarily. It's not going to be convenient or easy for them if they have been crossing boundaries all this time, right? And so ending a relationship, the question is, if you have to keep boundaries to the point it's going to end a relationship, how beneficial was that relationship to begin with? If it was bringing a lot of pain and a lot of challenge, and it felt like you were constantly having to set boundaries that weren't being kept, then it could be that there wasn't a strong relationship there, that it's like, is there a lot of loss there if you feel so challenged in that relationship already? Does that make sense? So how do you keep boundaries knowing it will end a relationship? So typically, if you are having challenges in a relationship, and you setting a boundary will end that relationship, then that's because that person is not respecting your boundaries. And so there's this amazing quote that I love that says basically that those that avoid conflict start a war on the inside. They start a war with themselves. So what war are you fighting on the inside because you've not been setting boundaries with this person, that it's come to this extreme, right? So you have to guard your peace. You have to guard what you can handle and what your capacity is. And it's not their fault if you're at capacity, because they're not responsible for managing your capacity. You are. That's your job. And only you know what you can tolerate, right? And so you want to have this degree of self-respect where you make it very clear what your expectations are in a relationship, and knowing that if this person doesn't respect your boundaries, it's probably an unhealthy relationship to begin with. Hopefully that's helpful. Feel free to share any more insight about that, Sammy, or any other questions. Very, thank you. Oh, good. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Boundaries are super important. And it's really easy to think that it's other people crossing our boundaries, but it's us allowing it. We choose and we teach people how to treat us, right? It's important that we know what we're okay with and what we're not. We can't blame other people when they cross those. Awesome question. Awesome question. That applies to all of us. We all have boundaries and have trouble keeping boundaries with certain people, right? Certain relationships that really make that hard. All right. We can take maybe one more question here. Anybody else have a question? These have been great, great questions. Anybody else? How do you go about recovering your personal identity outside of being a mom? It's a good one. It's a good one. So, following what lights your soul on fire. That is the kicker. And when you're a mom, that can really light your soul on fire. But it can, at the same time, take so much of the time that you lose sight and you lose track of what other things set your soul on fire. But I would argue that when you can really find out what you're passionate about outside of motherhood, it makes you a better mom. It makes you a better wife. You're fully checked in because you don't feel that void of like not fulfilling your purpose, you know? Like if you feel like there's something that you really want to do and yet you're not sure what it is, like there's this gnawing on the inside of you, there's a sense of dissatisfaction, right? But if you find out what that is and you sink yourself into it, you know, that only makes you a better wife and a mom because you're showing them what a healthy person looks like, a balanced person that's able to love their family, that's able to love their husband and their kids, and also fulfill and spend time pouring into other people and to other passions. So hopefully that helps you. Find out what lights your soul on fire. What John Maxwell talks about, what makes you sing, what makes you cry, what makes you really mad, what do you dream about? Those questions, if you can write those in the chat, Bree, that would be awesome. Those questions are super helpful to ask yourself. What do you dream about? What makes you cry? What makes you sing? And what makes you really angry? Simply put, what makes you tick and what ticks you off? You know, what really gets you fired up? What do you get passionate about and you find like more than most people it matters to you? When you start to answer those questions and you write those things down, you start to uncover what those passions are for you outside of being a mom, and then that makes you a better mom. Yes, what do you dream about? What makes you cry? What makes you sing? And what makes you really angry? Those are hints at your purpose, at your makeup, and what God has put on the inside of you to change the world. Because He's put something inside of all of us to make a difference, to live a life of significance. And that's what I'm doing in my mastermind currently with several clients is this book here. It's called Intentional Living by John Maxwell. And that's what we've been talking about, is discovering our dreams and our passions and what makes us sing and what brings us joy, and also what makes us angry. Like what evokes emotion in you, follow that. And that will lead you to what really sets you on fire. All right, we'll go one more minute, see if there's any other questions. Otherwise, we will sign off and we'll be back again next week. Without my crazy cough, people. Thank you for hanging in there with this craziness, because shoot, this has been something else. I've been fine pretty much all day, but it just had to all hit me tonight for some reason. Any final questions? These were awesome. You can always send me a question in Messenger under Elizabeth Beachy. You can send me a question there. If you know me personally, you can text me. You could always put a question in the comments, or like when we go to advertise for next week, you can put a question in the comments there so that I have some time to prepare to answer your question, or you can just, rapid fire them here and we can do it live just like this. So I'm so glad that you were on. This was awesome. It was great fun. And if nobody has any other questions, we will let you go. So hopefully it warms up this week, because it shouldn't be this cold in June. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight, and we'll see you next week. Bye.